my client goes, my body actually hurts more when I don't move. It's a fantastic connection because our bodies are screaming to do push-ups, pull-ups, to have some kind of resistance. We're given these amazing vessels and they want to be used.
Introducing The Vixen Voice, a podcast for ambitious women entrepreneurs ready to move into their feminine essence, live their truth, and unlock their full potential. I'm your host, April Roberts, and each week I'll be interviewing inspiring women who decided to take a leap of faith to pursue their dream. Women who believe that they were born for something bigger. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Vixen Voice. If you're hearing this episode when it drops, we are in the heat of summer, which means we're probably wearing as little clothing as possible. So today I have two guests from the fitness industry to talk to us about what are some quick tips, what are some things we can be doing to eat better during the summertime and take care of ourselves better, right? So I think we're going to have a fascinating conversation. Our guests today are Kimberly Chari. She's a former corporate real estate researcher turned into an online fitness coach after the age of 40. And I love that because, as you know, I work with upper millennial and Gen X women. And so many women think, gosh, is it too late to do what I'm doing? It's not too late until we're no longer here on earth, right? So I can't wait to hear Kimberly's story. And then we also have Whitney Schneider, who does strength training and coaching. And she is the founder with her husband, Zach, of Schneider Fitness and Condition House in Lawrence, Kansas. And actually, Kimberly is from Kansas as well, but she's here in Nashville, Tennessee with me today. So I think this is going to be fun. We have two Kansas ladies and a Mississippi girl. So we're going to go for it. So ladies, welcome. So glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. We're going to kind of dive in. We were having great conversation before we started talking about theories, about fitness, about eating. And, I just want to share through my personal experience, like most of my life, I was a size 2 to 4. The other day, I was actually getting outfits for keynote speaking and a photo shoot, and I was having to wear a size 12 in some things. And that really punched me in the gut. And I know it sounds like vanity, but, I have a whole wardrobe I can't wear. And my whole life, I've been successful at keeping myself fit, eating clean. I'm still extremely healthy, but I'm going to be honest, I'm just not happy about my weight. I'm not happy about not being able to find clothes easily because it hinders my lifestyle, right? So there are many different reasons. And I bring that up because if I went to the doctor, they're going to tell me I'm exceptionally healthy, right? But there are actually other things. And someone might say, hey, April, sounds like vanity, but it leads to an inefficient life for me. And so I really think keeping these things in check and getting a handle on them. I'm 48. I know I'm dealing with perimenopause. So what I knew worked before no longer works. I have this conversation with lots of my friends all the time. So I'm super excited to hear from Kimberly and Whitney. I will share, I just hired a wellness and fitness coach earlier this week. So you may love something they say, you may want to work with them further, or you may just take a couple of tips away. But you know what? Let's be honest about how we're feeling about things, right? Let's get it out there on the table because it's the beginning of everything. So Whitney and Kimberly, I'd love if we just started. Whitney, I'll call on you first. Share with us a little bit of your journey. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, I got to become a personal trainer because I originally was going to go to school for physical therapy. I'd spent a lot of time in physical therapy in high school after an ACL injury. And as I was going through school, I started doing personal training on the side. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do, even though I was getting my degree in exercise science. And I also tried out strength and conditioning coaching with the athletes, like collegiate athletes. And that was awesome. And that was definitely an avenue I was really considering. But I was in a long-term relationship with Zach at the time. And I kind of needed to make this decision of, okay, am I going to go for it and really work on becoming the best strength and conditioning coach, especially as a female, because that's a highly male-dominated work population? Or do I want to, stay in Lawrence, build a business and a family with Zach? And that's ultimately what won out, and been doing it now for 15 years.
I love it. I love your story because as I'm working with my clients who are usually, like I said, upper millennial and Gen X female founders, they're so goal oriented, they're high performers. And it's like, okay, this goal is great, but does it fit the life you want to live? Right. And I love how you were like wise enough early on to realize I have big goals, but I also want to live this kind of life. And I think that's really when you're living more aligned and true to who you are.
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to be a mom at the age of 10. That's when I became an aunt. So,
Mm.
like, having a family was always super important to me. And while I was doing my strength and conditioning internship, I was actually filling in for a woman on maternity leave. And I saw how hard that was for her. And it wasn't the life that I wanted. So,
Mhm.
quick pivot, still in the same realm. And now I'm helping women just like me, too, that, have had children and are wanting to get back to their best self and get stronger and healthier and more fit, all of that. So, sometimes I think about what that life would have been like had I chose
Yeah.
the other path, but I don't regret my decision at all. And, now I have two kids that also come into the gym, and they don't really work out like you might think a trainer might make their kids do, but I have them wiping benches and, moving things around, but it's very much a family oriented place too.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you focus on women. And Kimberly, I know you do too. And we're going to dig into your story next. And I think it's so important because no offense to the men, but I've had many trainers over my lifetime. And I just really enjoy when I work with women on my fitness and nutrition. It's like they just understand my body more and what's going on. Right. But I think finding the right coach or the right trainer is just as important as anything. Like you have to have that good vibe. So it is a relationship and we're building it. So Kimberly, dig in with your story and then we'll talk more about forming that relationship.
Well, thanks, April. Thanks for having me. And I love these discussions. I learn from not just you, but from other trainers in the industry. So I'm glad that Whitney's here. So, my story may be similar to Whitney. I did athletics when I was younger, volleyball,
Mhm.
tennis, loved it throughout college. And I think I went the traditional path of you get a degree from a university, you get a corporate job, and that is exactly, I went and got my master's. But I woke up 10 years after my master's so unhappy with not just my body image,
Mhm.
but I didn't know it at the time, but I was struggling with postpartum depression.
Mhm.
And but what I absolutely knew is if I fast forwarded my life 40 years from when I was in my 30s, I knew I didn't want to wake up overweight, exhausted, depressed, not having a happiness that I created. So I started asking better questions. I started just going, okay, I was an athlete. Like, I should know how to do this stuff. And the thing was, April, was that I was going to the gym. I was checking in my
Mhm.
babies and with the guilt associated with that, because when you have kids there's always this guilt associated with taking time for yourselves. And I
Yeah.
remember coming out of my fitness class going, I'm working my butt off and I ain't got the results and I ain't got the body that I want.
Mhm.
What is going on? And I knew that I wasn't alone, but I just started asking better questions and I just thought, okay, well, maybe I don't know everything. maybe
Mhm.
maybe there's someone here that can help me. And I literally remember telling one of my best friends, I don't know what's going to happen in my life, but something's going to change, something. And I asked around the gym. I said, tell me who is the best coach here, who is the best trainer. I need some help. And I think that day I tracked him down. I had a conversation with him. I was willing to start, maybe I was ready. I was ready for change.
Mhm.
And I think now that I'm a coach, I really, really believe that women wake up like you just described, April, that you woke up and go, I want to wear those clothes. I just,
Mhm.
I'm frustrated. I don't know how to do that. And when they're ready, than I like how I was just willing to do something else. And I don't know about you, Whitney, but I had never used a cable machine. I had used dumbbells in a fitness class. I had never walked onto a weight floor, even, which is really odd, I think, because here I was growing up in the 90s and 2000s, and several men always did weights since they were in high school. I was on I was in a small town, but I literally had never done strength and conditioning like Whitney probably has a passion for. And I was like, wow, this is fascinating. If I'm a former athlete and I've never done this, how many women are out there that literally struggle with even knowing
Mhm.
how a machine works in a gym? So that's, I guess that's how my passion started. That's a lot, maybe. But
Yeah.
I just started questioning, is there a better way to get my body to a weight and the confidence level? It was more my confidence. We wake up
Mhm.
so unconfident. And sometimes I have observed, I'm an observer of behavior. And I don't know about you, Whitney, but this is what I observed about men and women that walk into a gym. You will have a man walk in who is super out of shape, and he walks in with ego and bravado, like he's got it going on. And then you'll see a woman kind of not as confident, even though they're in more shape. And I started observing we have got to change this. We've got to reverse and give confidence back to these women.
Yeah, so that's actually probably my main passion is getting these women to feel confident walking in, not to just my gym, but to any gym. If you're, traveling or you go to a different gym, whatever, like I want you to walk in there, feel confident knowing what you're doing, where you're going, and, getting to work and not being bothered with the insecurities of, whether it's bigger men around you or, a lot of heavy weights or, we can all get in our heads a little bit, but yeah, even so, I train girls as young as 14 and as old as 75, and I think all of them could do just that. So that's when I know that I've done my job, and that's something I can feel good about.
I love that, and it's a good point because we all have our comfort zone, right? Like you might go to the gym close to you, or you have a trainer and you're comfortable with that, or you do your walking. But yeah, like to your point, like when you travel and you're out of your element is always when you tend to get off course, right? So I love this idea of being confident enough that no matter where you are, you're going to go do what you need to do. So Whitney, can you share with us, like, how are some ways that you help your clients reach that level?
I mean, that it takes time for sure,
Hmm.
and it definitely depends on the client, but I think mostly just getting them more comfortable with movements and, because most of us just go through our day to day. We just got to check off the boxes of here's breakfast, get the kids to school or, back to work, however it might look.
Hmm.
In terms of like really learning about our bodies and how they move. So like there's times whenever people say, "Well, I can't squat, because of my knees." I'm like, "Well, how do you get in and out of the car or sit down on the toilet?" Like
Right.
that's we got to make sure that we can get, keep those functional movements. So I think in some ways relating specific movements to things that they do in their day to day, like that, for
Mhm.
example. So, but it's starting out with body weight stuff and then it's, progressing to dumbbells and then to barbells. And like you're saying with the machines, getting more comfortable with that. It's just like anything else in terms of repetitions over time. But I've learned that I do a little bit of life coaching along with things too, of like,
Mhm.
let's talk about you and your past and that always relates to movement and where somebody might be stuck in certain movements and then kind of working through those and breaking through those areas too. But I do want to say
Yeah.
real quick, whenever we were in Nashville for a girls trip a couple years ago, I'm if you're on a girls trip with me, we're going to go to the gym. So we went
I
and found a
like it.
couple different gyms to try out, and there's some really good ones there in Nashville. So FYI.
Yeah, no, I
That's
agree.
awesome.
Right now, it's so beautiful that I'm working out outside. I want to enjoy the weather, but I actually have a
Oh,
really good
absolutely.
YMCA. I'm in East Nashville, so I just joined the YMCA. because I know everybody makes fun of me, but I love water aerobics. But when I lived in Milan, Italy, the soccer players all do water aerobics when they have injuries. So like my girlfriends and I would go do water aerobics, and we were sweating in the pool because there was like this buff soccer player leading us through water aerobics. So I think about it so much differently. I'm like, well, if they're going too slow, I'm just going to do twice as many reps or whatever. But I think you have to do something you enjoy, right? Like, I'll tell you, like, probably oh gosh, now I'm forgetting. There's this one exercise I absolutely hate, and almost every trainer makes you do. And it's like, why would I spend this time doing something I hate? Can't we find another way to get the same results, right? I
And that's
think
absolutely true, though. Yes. If you hate it, let's not do it.
so speak up and tell them. But no, I love it. And I am going to get your feedback on some gyms around, because I'm exploring right now, because I want to find something I really love. Like a couple of years ago, I trained to hike the Grand Canyon, and that was a no brainer. Like, you showed up and did your workout because like there was a goal, right? So I think a lot of it is understanding yourself and what drives you and what you enjoy. And I don't care if people make fun of me for going to water aerobics. Like, I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to enjoy it and have fun. Like, it's a great time. So, Kimberly, what's your experience been working with clients and helping them kind of build up? I love the common sense you mentioned, Whitney, of you can't do squats, you get in and out of the car every day. Because one of my highest goals is to keep my functional mobility. Like, I'm very proud at my age that I can get off the floor without my hands. Like, there's all those tests for longevity, and I'm like, look at all this stuff I can do, right? And I don't think a lot of people think in these terms. It's almost acceptable that, oh, you're going to have knee surgery or you're going to have a hip replacement. Like, to me, that's insane. Like, why are we accepting, because aging and disease is not the norm. We've made it the norm, right? That is not the normal human condition. So, Kimberly, let's talk some common sense like that about movement or eating. I shared with you, I saw one of your posts where you're like, if you're eating something with more than 7 ingredients, or you can share the tip, but I was like, this is genius. Like, this is a no brainer, but it's this nice, easy rule. So now that I started working out, my rule is, at the end of the day, my ass can't sit on the sofa till I've moved for an hour, right? So if I haven't gotten it in, I'm getting it in before. And I did that when I was younger and fit. And I'm like, it's real simple. Like, you have an hour of movement, and then you get to sit and watch a TV show or play on your computer or whatever the heck you want to do. So, Kimberly, tell us one, the tip about the 7 ingredients, and then some other like good tips. Because one challenge I'd like to talk about is, I know a lot of my friends, when the kids come home for the summer, their routine and their eating habits change because they're around the kids more, right? So let's chat about that and maybe what they could do to counteract it.
Well, I definitely agree with you. I think we're inundated with so much information out there. And when I decided
Hmm.
to guide people with nutrition, one of the terms that comes up is the word clean eating, right? If you research, everyone talks, well, you should clean eat this. There's even a magazine, Clean Eating. And when I researched it, I was like, well, what is that? What does that mean? What does it mean to me? Because
Hmm.
I knew in my kitchen, I was not going to empty out the pantries with Lucky Charms and things my kids like, totally, because we're surrounded by all these things. But I wanted to eat clean. So most research says that eating clean, they've come to these terms, is 5 or less ingredients in a food is considered clean. Okay. So to
Hmm.
give you an example, if I had lunch, I would eat hard boiled eggs. Well, that has 1 ingredient, right? So that classifies as clean. But then I give my clients a little bit of leeway, because if they've never literally, if they're not going to turn around labels and start looking at
Hmm.
ingredients, 5 ingredients kind of is hard to do when you come from a processed food world. So, one of the challenges I have within my group challenges is try and fill your plate with 7 or less ingredients. And it's almost like their mind starts going to work, like, how do I do that? And okay, well, lettuce has 1 ingredient and sweet potatoes. So it's not restricting foods in a sense, it's giving them freedom to choose the fresher foods, right? So if they prefer mango, that has 1 ingredient, eat a mango, right? And I love that rule. And I've had challengers it's almost like they start making this connection of, oh, well, what I'm eating is kind of fresh. It's just fresh food, right? And so I do promote that as a very simple habit, very simple to get. And it doesn't mean that you can't eat the burger at Red Robin, but what it does mean is when you look at your plate, you can question, wow, how many ingredients does this have? Is Coach Kimberly on the right track here? And the flip side of that is they start relating it to how they feel. Their skin looks better. Their gut starts working better, right? Their wedding ring that they've always like, they have a swollen finger. I had a client the other day go, my wedding ring can come off because she's literally just transitioning and shifting into this, like, okay, I guess I just got to eat some fresher food. I think that's the simplest thing to tell people.
I like how you make it an adventure with the 7 ingredients because, long story, I have an autoimmune condition. So in 2012, I cut out gluten and dairy because I was convinced that it would help, and it did. And so then when I went to the grocery, it was like, okay, it's an adventure. What can I eat? I didn't focus on all the things I couldn't eat, which, I mean, pretty much when you do that, you cut out everything processed, right? So it was like, okay, I'm going to shop around the perimeter of the grocery store and let me go find what I can eat. And I feel like that's the mentality you're creating with the 7 ingredients, almost like it's a game or an adventure. Like, okay, can I get it under 7 ingredients? So I really love that. And I think it's super smart.
I like that idea a lot too. And as a trainer, I
Yeah.
don't speak too much about food. In the past, I used to do like meal plans and stuff, but nobody wants to stick to a meal plan. So
No.
rather than saying like, this is what you should eat and how you should eat it, like, what do you like? And we have groups and I ask everybody, so what was lunch today? And it's not about shame or anything. Honestly, it's a little bit about ideas too, to share amongst people. And I do have one client that we're all just dying to know every time, like, all right, what did she have today? Because it's just the most outlandish thing. And there's no shame behind it. I mean, we're all
Yeah.
working hard anyway, but whenever it comes to like wanting to see results and that sort of thing, rather than taking something away, it's like, what can we add? Can we add more water? Can,
Mhm.
you add a little more fiber or, things like that versus restriction. It's way less stressful.
I love it. And I love the sharing aspect because that's what we do in group coaching, memberships, masterminds, right? When it comes to our businesses, personal growth, what we're doing. And what happened a couple of weeks ago is the women in my mastermind coffee chat, one of them was sharing, I was like, oh, what are you struggling with now? And one shared, I'm struggling with what to feed my kids every day now that they're home. And I don't have kids. Everyone else on the call had kids. So they were all sharing ideas like, hey, put shredded chicken in the crock pot because the problem is, this kid won't eat this and this kid has this allergy. And so it's not like, they were struggling because they couldn't fit one thing. And I just sat back and listened and I was fascinated at how creative the sharing became. And so I think, Kimberly, you talked about how women really know these things. And I think just sharing and having this conversation more with other people, like Whitney, you said, you can get inspired and it's entertaining and
Well,
it's a different
the power of
conversation.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
love
like
that.
to talk with a client or a woman about what their family does on a routine basis. Most of us are very
Mm-hmm.
routine. We have pizza on Fridays. We might take the family out to Red Robin on Sundays, right? And so, what's more important is for them to choose foods that go with their lifestyle that are healthy rather than them fit their lifestyle into a keto diet that they're trying. If you're not a meat eater, why would you do carnivore? And unfortunately, I see, and I joke about it a little bit because 6 months ago during a challenge, I said, ladies, I said, you can choose intermittent fasting, keto, carnivore, any system that you like. As long as you're consistent, you will see results. And the truth of the matter is, if you're not intuitive about your own body, you will choose a system not aligned with you, and it will
Mm-hmm.
lead to burnout. So I trained with some a fitness company in Kansas City, and they promote a keto based diet. I'd never eaten keto. I started on the meal plan. I felt like crud. My body was telling me this does not go with you. So I really, really, truly believe that we know what we should eat based on our body's signals. When I eat pizza, I might temporarily get that satisfaction from the saltiness and like maybe the chemicals in it like drive me a little bit, but I crash and I don't my gut doesn't feel well. So it's almost like I think that they can start incorporating such great foods based on their lifestyle, and that's what's important. And that
Mhm.
goes along with what Whitney said. Don't take away something that you know your body loves, like swimming, April. You said you liked your aqua classes. I have very strong opinions that strength for women is the key to longevity and functionality and stretching. But if someone came to me and said, I I love Pilates, I'd be like, fantastic. I know they're going to keep that for the
Mhm.
rest of their life. And stripping that away from someone's intuitive knowledge of their body is the last thing you need to do.
Yeah, I tell you. So I was taking private Pilates classes, actually one on one, and I loved it. But I like to go work with a trainer where they tell me what to do. They count for me. I don't have to make any decisions because I have to make decisions all freaking day long, right? It's kind of like when I'm dating someone and they're like, "What do you want for dinner?" I don't want to decide. You just pick a restaurant. I will find something. I will be super happy. So that that people would be like, seriously, you want them to like, I had a trainer, she was like, I'll just count for you, don't worry, I just want you to do it. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. I love this because I didn't have to engage my brain. I just got to focus on the movement and doing what I was supposed to do. So I love it. I just think, like you said, you have to find something that aligns with you. And I feel like there's so much like shame and guilt with women in the Western world. It's kind of like when you get a housekeeper, like somebody wants to shame you. Like, how is this shameful? I'm leveraging my time. I'm employing someone else who now can feed their family. I'm adding to the economy. Like, in my opinion, this is a win win for everyone.
Well, and you're getting the help you need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your sanity is important, right? There's that saying, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, and it's absolutely true. Yet, as women, we put the oxygen mask on last all the time. So, Whitney, hop in here. What other tips do you have to share? Because I love how y'all are challenging our audience just to kind of think in different ways. And like, it's okay to be like, yeah, no, this doesn't work for me. I'm gonna find something that works for me.
Yeah, and I'm it seems to be like in accordance with you two that I'm not big on extremes, whether it's extreme dieting or extreme exercise. It just causes more stress, which we already have plenty of, and that's kind of what we're trying to move through anyway. So I think movement daily, water daily. Most of us probably don't get quite as much water as we need. And again, back to finding what you like. I mean, people will come to me and say, well, I'm doing Pilates or yoga and I don't necessarily like it. Then don't do that. Let's find something else. It kind of makes me think of CrossFit in a way, which I have
Yeah.
friends that do CrossFit and they are beasts and move a lot of weight and are, high intensity. Every CrossFit exercise or workout that I've done, I've actually gotten injured. So I'm like, not for me. Move on to something else. I also kind of struggle a little bit with yoga, but I do it. I don't slow down as much as maybe I should, or I could probably work on that. But, otherwise, I think just finding your fit and finding, the people that work with you. What's kind of nice about our gym too is again, we're a collective, so there's other trainers
Mhm.
and somebody might not be the right fit for me. And
Mhm.
rather than thinking that I need to hold on to them and make this fit, make it work, I happily pass them on to someone else that is a better fit. And a lot of us kind of share some clients too, depending on schedule or uh, personal preference. So it's kind of nice that there's not any of the like competition aspect in terms of like who's training who and the money of things. But it's nice to be able to motivate and work with others, both as a professional in terms of like my coworkers, but also with
Mhm.
our clients.
So you wanted very simple tips, and this is what I see holding. There's a lot of achieving women that are listening to us. They want to get better, but this
Mm-hmm.
is what I've found with high achieving women when it comes to if they sign up with me or someone else. Their perfectionism holds them back
Mm-hmm.
sometimes from doing the work that they should do. And so this is the example that I give. The best thing that my client could do is do 20 minutes of an hour workout without feeling like they've failed. They feel like the achieving women feel like they fail if they don't check off all the boxes. And my best tip is to fit those small pockets of time for movement in the best that you know how, and leave the guilt and that negative energy away,
Mm-hmm.
because it's, I think more balance, like Whitney said, is found in those little pockets of time. It's not that
Mm-hmm.
you have to set aside an hour to an hour and a half of movement. They get overwhelmed. But because high achieving women are so used to achieving, they transfer that extreme outlook into your health. And
Yep.
I try and dial them back and have them accept that being outside your comfort zone might be that 20-minute pocket of time, and doing 3 20-minute pocket of times a week is better than them writing the whole movement off. What they'll do is they'll say, I can't do an hour, so I'm not going. I didn't check. I often
Yep.
find these guilty comments on my coaching app, like, sorry, coach, I couldn't finish the workout. What are we sorry for? You worked out, right? So,
Right. Well, and something's always better than nothing.
yes, yes. And I'm not sure if our corporate mentality and the way we're programmed as women that we have to do more to be more
Mm-hmm.
is that natural transfer, but that's what
Yeah.
happens because I see women transfer it into these extreme diets they decide to do, and then they get burnt out 4 months down the road, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and what's interesting is when I hit my pain point, I was like, okay, this is it, an hour a day, and like you're eating well until you work with a coach or trainer, like an hour a day of movement, right? Which right now for me is walking because we have a huge launch this week. I don't have time to get to the gym. So, like the first day, it was cool because I went walking with a friend and then I went walking again. So, I got 10,000 steps in the first day, which is an hour and a half for me. I know how many steps I get in an hour, right? So, I'm kind of like, okay, 6,400 is an hour. So, I have to get 6,400 steps in. And what happened is like yesterday and 2 days ago, it's after dinner. I hadn't hit it. I was like, okay, just go walk around the block. I go and it's so pleasant and beautiful that I walked like around 3 or 4 blocks, right? So, like, I overshot my goal and it was nothing about the goal. It was just such a beautiful evening. And I was enjoying the moment that, you know, I don't know, but to your point, so I'll get like, I try to do 30 to 45 minutes in the morning so that I get a good jump on it. But like yesterday, I had a client who's like, I'm so sorry, I have to get off our coaching call 15 minutes early. I'm like, cool, that's 15 minutes I can go walk. And like she got off and I,
Yep.
went to walk around the block or whatever. So yeah, I totally agree because when I was like, I need an hour on my calendar, it consistently wasn't happening. Once I gave up that notion, I've hit an hour plus every single day by just taking these little walks when I have to. So I love that idea. And I lost 5 pounds
Um,
immediately. Like, it's
okay.
crazy. Yeah.
So I do have a couple tips that might be, I'll just share them. Anyways, one that I think is super important that is also hard to kind of incorporate is getting solid sleep every night.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't run on an empty tank, right? And it's super important. So that might mean putting the phone down or reading a book instead of
Mhm.
watching TV. I don't know about you, but 5 minutes into reading and then I'm out. I'm ready for bed. But then
Mhm.
that allows you to kind of get up in the morning and not be as groggy and more ready for your day. And then for me, like the non-negotiable is 30 minutes every day. Like I think an hour is great for busy
Yeah.
moms or whatever. They've
I'm
got to be
being a
here and
little
here and all that.
extreme right now because
No,
I hit my pain point.
I think an hour is great, but we kind of run all of our sessions at 30 minutes because you get in, you get out, you get
Yes.
it done, then you can move off your
Love it.
day. Check, right? Because that's high performers. Yeah, and then I think just doing something for yourself outside of exercise. Because I know that again, for me and my goals for women is the confidence aspect, but I also know that all of us are
Mhm.
working towards a goal for our bodies. And I think that's great. I don't think that there's anything wrong with wanting to push yourself to not only be stronger, but to have results that you see in the mirror too. I know that I think that everybody should accept their bodies and hopefully love it, but that doesn't mean that you can't have goals and really work towards achieving those goals too.
Tips like that are so amazing. They really, you really do have an image in your mind because we are an image culture. I believe we're spiritual
Mhm.
people, but we see our bodies in the mirror, and your image that you want, April, is going to be so different than what a coach wants. Whitney
Mhm.
feels more confident when she looks a certain way. And so I truly believe I want people to make the connection. And if you were a kid and you weren't an athlete or you didn't do sports, this is what I know. If some people were athletes and they made this connection, movement makes me feel better. Makes
Mhm.
right? I mean, we don't have to get into the scientific journals about it. The payoff is that we look better, right? We have, if we eat better and move better, our skin and our hair and our bodies, that's the payoff.
Well,
But
that's a reason to keep doing it.
emotionally,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
but emotionally, I don't know anyone that I have spoken to that they might say the workout was hard. They might say they were sore. But I ask them, how'd you feel a couple of days out? Were you confident when you walked out of the gym? Were you movement, make that connection. Your body is screaming to move. I've had
Yeah.
clients that sit and they like the Netflix shows. Your body actually, my client goes, my body actually hurts more when I don't move. It's a
Mhm.
fantastic connection because our bodies are screaming to do push ups, pull ups, to have some kind of resistance. We're given these amazing vessels and they want to be used. And so making that connection, working out makes a natural high in my head, makes my body like go, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This feels awesome, you know. I want that for people, and I want them. It's a great
Yeah.
addiction. It really is. It can everything's, it can go to extremes, but health is one of the best, I think, payoff addictions that there is. And we all get to choose our addictions. That's what I always say. Everyone gets to choose, right? And so why not choose
Mhm.
the ones that have the best payoff?
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned we're spiritual beings, and we are, and we've been given this temple of our body for this lifetime, right? And it's a gift that we're supposed to take care of. And, I was talking about being in the dressing room and having that moment, but also for me, it's like, okay, all the tests say I'm incredibly healthy, like my skin's good, I don't look my age, but I have gone from a size 4 to a size 12. So there's something I'm not doing to take care of this vessel that's my body, right? So, I mean, really, for me on a deep spiritual level, that's what drove me to be like, okay, something's wrong here. And I want to figure it out before it culminates and gets worse. And let's move this. So, if you are spiritual, I think it's a great reason to move your body and take care of it, to understand that it's a gift we've been given. I mean, it's the house we're living in for this lifetime, right? So for me, that's actually the most compelling reason to move and keep going. But we are almost out of time. So, real quickly, I think you ladies have given amazing tips. At the Vixen gathering, we are all about tapping into our feminine essence and our feminine energy. So, I love that we talk about movement because that's actually a very feminine energy. Like the feminine likes to move. We love to dance. We love to be in motion. We love to get going. But my question for y'all is, when do you feel your feminine energy the most? Because we have both, right? And we need both. But when do you feel you're most in your feminine energy?
I absolutely know. And I feel masculine energy when I work out. Okay. So my
Mm,
feminine energy actually comes out when I'm visiting with my kids or I'm watching
mhm,
early in the morning. I usually get up and journal. I'm either watching a sunrise or watching a sunset, doing an activity that's calmer is, I think, my feminine energy. And then my Sagittarius fire, when I step onto the gym floor, I am not at all feminine.
I love it. Whitney, how about you?
When I'm in the gym, it's definitely a masculine energy, even
Getting
though
it
I'll
done.
train in a skirt, you know. But I'd say that I've got like two that come to mind. Definitely whenever I throw on a dress and heels, that's I'm in my feminine. And but then kind of like you were saying, when I'm with my kids, but it's like at the end of the night when we're reading books, when we're
Mhm.
relaxing and I've got one on each shoulder, that's also a big pull on that feminine energy and, a little bit of that divine energy too, where like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be with who I'm supposed to
Mhm.
be and doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So, but I do want to say real quick that third tip that
Yes.
it came
Oh,
to me
yes.
was getting outside every day, even in
Yes.
cold weather, which I know can be hard, but there's a saying, there's no such thing as bad weather, just, not being prepared for it. But like last night, I was here at the gym. I was getting ready to leave, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go walk on the treadmill. Like, no, I'm gonna get outside, go get acclimated
Yes.
because it's hot, and get my walk in and sweat. You know, but that's kind of another non-negotiable and a tip that I think is worth it. And kind of like you were saying, April, about being outside and feeling that spirituality too. Like, yeah, it's all around us, but sometimes when we're inside, we don't
Mhm.
quite have the access that we might have outside.
Yeah, something's going on right now because when I'm taking my evening walks, my neighborhood is an older part of Nashville, so there are a lot of front porches, etc. Everyone's out on their front porch. They're all outside playing with their kids. And I mean, it's just so beautiful to walk through the neighborhood and see all of this life, right? It's like something's going on right now where people are really enjoying life. And that's just so beautiful. And I think the more we enjoy life, we naturally do what's best for ourselves. So, to close out, I love this question because I've heard every answer from black to red to magenta to teal blue. But what color would you say your feminine energy is?
I'd say mine's kind of an amber.
Amber,
Amber?
okay,
I
that's
like it. That's
great.
a new one. I love it.
I would definitely say mine is a pink or purple. I gravitate toward those.
Love it. Awesome. And then, ladies, for everyone listening, if you have not done so, go to our website, vixengathering.com, and subscribe to the Vixen Voice. When you do that, you get all of our show notes with all the amazing resources delivered to your inbox every Tuesday and Thursday. So, ladies, I'm going to ask real quickly, what do you have going on that you'd like to tell our audience about? Is there anything you'd like to By the way, I want to shout out that Whitney has been named one of the top 5 personal trainers in Lawrence, Kansas. So if you're in that area, what is it, for like 5 years in a row or since 2016? Wow, that's amazing. So definitely go by, check out their gym. Like she said, if you're not a fit for her, there are a ton of other amazing people. I love that collaboration and generosity. That's so amazing. And Kimberly, what do you have going on right now that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I think I started my Facebook cooking show about a year ago, and I love
Nice.
dropping recipes that ladies can use in their kitchen, super easy. It's called Easy Weight Loss Recipes for Women Over 40. And I was just on there live doing some high protein ice cream. I love that group. I do have online a summer program. If anyone wants to hop on, there's 6 spots left. It's a simple program. You lock and load, you get results. I love it. And then I do have my private online clients. They want more of a direction in certain goals. And so I think I shared those links with you. But you can follow me at Kimberly Charity Coaching on Facebook and Instagram. And I love showing up on my story buttons. I love the ladies that interact with me. And I love that, April, you've put together a gathering that you feel is going to make people just achieve their best self. That it just fires me up. I have chills like talking about it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Whitney, anything else you'd like to throw out there before we wrap up today?
Well, so, I'm in person, but I also do online training. I've done
Love it.
one-on-one online training since my son was, well, since I was pregnant. So like 9, 10 years. And, just allows access to the one-on-one feel, but, you can do it at home, at your gym, wherever you are in the world. And I create all the workouts on my end, and then it shows up on an app associated with videos on your end. And I look for those checkout or check-ins every day, and it helps you keep account or helps keep people accountable. But yeah, that's about it. And if anybody's interested in that, you can just email me at Whitney Schneider. No, Whitney at SchneiderFit.com. I should have worked on that. Whitney at
Awesome.
Schneider
And
Fit.
all these links are in our show notes. So go find it. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll find them below. So ladies, thank you so much. One thing I just wanted to mention quickly, Kimberly, thank you for talking about this gathering. We launched the Vixen Founders Collective this summer. It's amazing. It rolls in the curriculum of my mastermind that women pay $24,000 a year to join. Our Jet Setter mastermind is $60,000 a year. It rolls that together with our small group coaching that women were paying $3,000 a quarter. I get paid $2,000 an hour for consulting. It is a founding member is $3,000 for the entire year. You get access to this live curriculum and an amazing network of women just like these women we're talking to today. So give us a buzz if you'd like to find out more about the Vixen Founders Collective. Please follow Kimberly, follow Whitney. They have amazing tips. And if you're looking to hire someone, they're open for business. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Ladies, this was fun. I'm so excited because now you have me motivated to stay on track. So thank you so much. I'm going to go back and listen to this episode when I'm veering off. So everyone listening, I hope we've inspired you today. I hope also you've heard that you're not alone in how you feel. The more open conversations we have as women, the more collaborative, the more generous we are with each other, and the more loving we show up, the greater the impact on this earth. So just think about how I was sharing all the families in my neighborhood loving life right now. How can you show up and love life today? And when you do that, other people are going to see you doing it, and it gives them permission to do the same. So have a beautiful day. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so future episodes are automatically downloaded directly to your device. And if you want access to today's show notes, including links to all the resources we mentioned, visit vixengathering.com/podcast. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week for another episode of The Vixen Voice.